JP, give me that marker. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Man, Kevin would have got on some of your asses for those claps, but well, that's not a big deal because Kevin's not here. So this is a little bit of a different podcast. Normally we're in the manic dungeon with all of Kevin's little notes all over the wall, but we're out in Arizona right now. James and I made a little trip, come see the DC Predator boys, and we're happy to be here. And we decided you guys know too much about too much, so we didn't want to wait to have you come out to New Hampshire to get a podcast with you, but we'll have you come up and do a podcast. But we just figured, we're filming stuff anyway, we might as well get a podcast in and at least let people know who you guys are and what we were doing.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to say who you are, you don't have to. You can live in secrecy, or you can say who you are. Yeah,
I think it's finally time for me to.
I think so.
To go ahead and reveal my true identity.
Yep.
So I'm Scott, and I'm Cameron's dad and Ken's brother. And I would say when it comes to the contribution to the crew that is DC Predator, most of what I do happens behind the scenes. It's going to be dealing with most of the business end and things like that. Was not blessed with good looks to be on the camera. Not a great shot, and candidly, not a great hunter.
I saw you make some great shots. I saw you make some shots.
But thankfully, they allow me to continue to be part of the crew, and I can say it's been an absolute blast. Every time we go out, we have fun. Every time we go out, we learn something. And so just to see where this journey has taken us to this point has been awesome. And my eyes have finally been open to the opportunities that are before us. And so I'm just super excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Ken, how do you top that?
I can't top that. See, he insinuated that I'm a good shot or that I'm good looking enough to be on TV. I think I'm just, you got to let the fat kid do something. They just let me tag along. But I'm having a blast. It's been several years since we started doing this coyote hunting like seriously, and we've had a blast doing it. We're having a lot of fun, and we wanted to save some of these memories for ourselves. And then we thought other people might want to see it too. You know, started out we're just sharing it with our friends and family, and we've been lucky enough to get enough people to watch us that now our habit is supported by some good partners, and then we get to meet good people like you guys, and we're just having so much fun. I love hunting coyotes. I don't feel like I need to hunt anything else. It satisfies my urge, and it challenges me in good ways, and it's been very rewarding and enjoyable. And these guys are super talented. I'm trying to learn the camera stuff. I'm like almost to the kindergarten level on learning the camera stuff, and someday hopefully I'll learn how to take more of the burden off of Cam on the filming and editing stuff, and hopefully we'll keep doing this until
there are no more.
Yeah,
there are no more coyotes.
Until when the
kill them all.
then they'll take a day off, and they'll make more.
Yeah, they will.
Right. Last is me, the shortest and smallest, youngest, all of the things. I'll say I'm behind the scenes with my dad as well. I am the guy behind the camera. This is weird for me. I'm usually the one making it creative and making people look sexy and all. So that's me. I'm the videographer for DC Predator. Do all the photos, do all the social media. I don't answer the comments though, so don't come at me. That's Ken. Usually.
Yeah, if it's YouTube comments, I'll answer.
Yeah.
So that's not me on there. Just to clarify that. I am on Instagram a lot, doing the comments there. I pretty much keep it spicy, keep it up to date, keep it trendy. Trying to follow like the cute, cute guys are the ones starting the trend. I'm just trying to copy them in a little ways, but it's okay.
We don't know what we're doing. We just make it up as we go.
You do know what you're doing.
We just make it up as we go. One of the things that's interesting to me, one, I think Kevin would be, and he will be when you guys come up. I think he'll be super interested in what you guys are doing, because a big thing for Kevin is passion, and it's very evident whether it's the content you put out or just being around you guys and getting to hunt with you. And you kind of covered it, but you're passionate about what you're doing, and it shows in everything you do. To the extent that I know you're talking about behind the scenes, and people might not understand what that is. They might think that means trying to get sponsors and this and that, which I'm sure that's part of it. But you guys are very analytical, and I know you don't have to go into great detail, or you can go into as much. I don't know what is a trade secret or not, but I know that you guys document not only just film, but you have a spreadsheet of the years that you've been hunting and essentially a record of everything, and that helps, I assume, show you trends and things that do work, don't work, that kind of thing. And I think that that's unique too. And maybe there's more people out there that are doing that than I recognize, but I don't think it's talked about. And I think that's super cool because it's, to me, it's similar to what happens at Q, where all of our stuff is objective, it's data based, it's analytical. We're doing it because the science shows that it works, and you're doing the same thing just in a completely different way. And I think that's super cool. I think Kevin, it would resonate with Kevin a lot as well. When did that idea start? When you're just like, oh, hey, you know what? We should start documenting this.
Man, right out the gate.
Early on.
Yeah, it was early.
I think for me, all of us had input on what that looks like and how we were going to get there. But for me, it was about, I just see everything in a spreadsheet.
He's a numbers guy.
I'm a numbers
Yeah,
guy.
right.
That's my day job. And so I see everything in a spreadsheet. And I felt like at my age to get into coyote hunting and to accomplish what we wanted, we had to speed up the learning curve.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do that by just going out and being willy-nilly and hunting and throwing a bunch of calls out there. And so you may have picked up on this when you've been with us, but everything we do is intentional and everything we do is deliberate.
Absolutely.
And early on, in addition to the spreadsheet, which is important for us, we had a common practice that we would leave a stand and we'd say, hey, like,
What do we learn? Or what do we need to do better?
What worked? What didn't work? Why? And we, because of our tight relationship, we could have very candid conversations with each other about, like, yeah, this was great, but dude, I think we need to try this, or let's do that. And none of it was ever in a way to like tear each other down or to make one elevated.
Yeah.
It was literally, we want to be the apex predator. And so you'll see that on some of our stuff. And to do that, you have to be intentional and deliberate, and to measure the growth and the success. The spreadsheet was one way that I thought we would do it.
But it was early on. It was for sure early on. In the beginning.
Yeah.
We started keeping track.
And I know you guys are local to here. I assume you grew up hunting in at least a little bit, but as far as the way that you guys are, is this a relatively new, like, because I know you said there's that learning curve. Did you just decide a few years ago, like, hey, this is our thing, let's do this?
Yeah, I'll tell the history from my perspective. So yeah, our families, our grandfathers on both sides were deer hunters. You know,
Yeah.
They got some awesome trophies that we still have on the wall at Mom's house. And I remember at a very young age, I couldn't tell you how young, because it's so far back, but going on deer hunts with them, and frankly, I was bored. Mm-hmm. So as we got a little older, teenagers and into like high school and just after, one of the things that everyone in our group wanted to do was we'd go shoot jackrabbits or ground squirrels, and it was fun because there was a lot of activity.
Right.
But I always wanted to hunt coyotes, and I remember a few times going with Dad when we were young, and I just, that was the thing that just appealed to me, was hunting coyotes. So then when it really got into a big time thing, when Cam was still little, how old was he?
I was like probably 8 to 10.
Yeah, so we went, the three of us together. I had a Remington 700 and 223, and I think we just had the one gun with us. Scott was on the gun.
Yeah.
Shot a coyote, and cool stuff happened to it. But it was like, for me, that was like the beginning of what this has become. And then it was several years later when I started doing it, I just decided I have the time and the means now where I can go hunt coyotes, and I don't care if I can't get other guys to come with me, because I was having trouble getting friends to come along. I just started doing a little more, and I'm just, you know, didn't have electronic caller. I'm using hand calls and stuff, and I had some success. And I was like, "Whoa, this is really fun! This is really fun! Come on, you guys, come with me." Try it. Finally, I started talking people into do it. Cameron always had kind of that. He always wanted to be on a gun. He was always interested in shooting, and so it was easy to talk him into it. So when COVID hit, it was like, well, I guess I can always go coyote hunting. You know, they can't put a restriction on me on that. So that's when it really started picking up. And then we have on the spreadsheet at least 4 years of data now.
Like hard data.
Of hard data, keeping track of as much stuff as we could remember when we got back after the hunt. But I can go out and we can have an excellent day of hunting, and you'd think I'd be satisfied and say, nah, I'm good now. But like, you might get home from a morning hunt and think, we should go back out this afternoon and make some more stands, or let's go again tomorrow.
Yeah.
As much as we can now, I want to go out, and I'm never getting enough.
Yeah.
You can have our best day in our history. I think one recent trip we had 7 coyotes, and we're thinking that's a pretty good day for us.
And we missed a couple.
Yeah, we missed a couple. Yeah, but
we got to do it again.
it's never enough.
Yeah.
And even if we have a day where we don't see any, I'm still just happy to be out there. I
Right.
enjoy being out in nature. It's even better when I can enjoy it with these guys that I love, or if we can talk one of my brothers to go, other brothers. Man, I'm going to go out as much as I can. And it's almost to the point now where, like, if anyone suggests, well, we're going to do something else on Saturday, I'm thinking I'm busy on Saturdays because I hunt.
Yeah. I got data to collect.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just my job.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, and it's cool that you live in an area that it's so possible, and you're
Not a public.
right, and you're also contributing to conservation realistically.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit. I read this thing. Now, the more I think about it, the more it sounds wild, but it was a source from Missouri was putting out a study that they did on during breeding season, a female coyote on average in the U.S. will kill 13 deer fawns during their breeding season. And that they said that was the average. I'll have to go back and figure out if that was just in Missouri because it was a Missouri source, but they made it seem like that was the national average, which is insane, and I don't think people realize that. So obviously coyotes are going after your neighborhood pets and this and that, but also, I mean, it's the same with bears eating, elk fawn or like elk babies and are they fawns or elk?
Calves.
Calves, that's right. Yeah, bulls and cows and calves. I'm from Maine. We don't have those. But it's cool, and there's an abundance. I say there's an abundance of coyotes because I don't know about here. It's just that because of your 4 years of hard data, anytime you've ever brought me anywhere, I've seen a coyote. So.
Yeah, we don't see him just hunting though. One of my other brothers called me last night. It's almost 11 o'clock. He's walking his dog. And while I'm on the phone with him, he says, there's a coyote here. I think it's going to try to get at my dog. Oh, wait, there's another one. There's another one. Turns into 4.
Right.
And that's right here within a few hundred yards of where we're sitting right now in the middle of the city.
And you saw one here 2 nights ago?
Yeah, they're everywhere. You hear stories all the time about them, taking pets right out of a man's arms or whatever. But when we were growing up, our dad was a cowboy, and we'd have encounters with them. They're always they'd come in and kill a bunch of chickens, or they spooked one of the horses and it killed itself, impaled itself on a fence,
right?
Or they'll kill the goats or whatever other animals. And a lot of the places we hunt are where there's cattle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. There's cattle grazing in Arizona.
Yeah, I saw them. Yeah.
And so a lot of times most of the areas that we hunt are where there's cattle, and you see evidence all the time where the coyotes have been killing or maiming calves. Right. And so usually the ranchers are okay with us being there too.
Yeah, you've talked to someone about numbers on stuff like that. What was that?
Yeah, specifically when it comes to Arizona, the impact on the deer population isn't as heavy,
right?
Just because the deer population isn't great here. But there's been significant amounts of tax dollars and other different revenue sources invested to get the population back at a manageable level.
Yeah.
They're just way too high here. And specifically, when speaking of Arizona, we have an issue with antelope. There's one unique kind of antelope here that's become endangered, and the coyote population is really heavy around there, and so it presents a problem. So
is that more north of us?
South.
South.
So there's a variety of reasons to do it. Population control and management is one. Deer population is another. Cattle is another. But if I got to be completely candid, and I love being on a Q podcast because there's no company more candid than Q.
Yeah.
I do it because I love it.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
That's number one reason.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're having fun, and it may not even be in the back of your mind for weeks that you're helping something, but it's nice to know that at the end of the day, as much fun as you're having, you're doing it because you love to do it. It's also pretty cool that it's a positive thing for the environment. And I think because we talk about conservation on our podcast a lot, and specifically in Africa, because Kevin spends most of his time there. And I think that we haven't done a huge job, or a good job, of educating the anti-hunter in the U.S. and educating the general population of the U.S. on how much conservation helped our country.
Yeah.
I mean, the white-tailed deer is the most common game animal in our country. It almost didn't exist like 100-something years ago. And we had the guys from Field and Stream on recently that are well-versed, and they talked about it too. But certain types of waterfowl, the turkey, all these animals that we love to hunt and are super well-regulated didn't exist, or were on the verge of not existing here. And hunting is what brought them back. And that's a whole other story, and it gets into that. But one of the topics with conservation that I'm super interested in is that obviously you're killing coyotes, which helps fawns, which helps these other animal populations, but it also helps their own population. If you're culling coyotes, essentially, it helps stop the spread of disease. Fewer of them are getting sick or genetic defects, things like that.
Mange.
So overall, it's just benefiting everything. And then you talked about the monetary side with whether it be ranchers or the agriculture guys, all that stuff. So super important, and it all just happens to be extremely fun. Extremely rewarding. Yeah.
That's facts. We had a fun weekend, and we got on some coyotes. And did you catch the bug?
Yeah, 100%. And it's so much. And so like last year we were here for a separate thing, and we had talked a little bit before, and it just timed. It was a perfect timing that I was like, hey, we could just send guns to these dudes because they're doing cool stuff, or maybe we can go down and we'll hunt with them. We'll bring them guns. They can see them for themselves. They may not like the guns. And then, but either way, we get to do it. And we got to spend a day with you guys. We killed 2 dogs. It was a great day. And even then, we're like, man, that's super cool. Because like James and I would like to hunt coyotes, and we're from the Northeast, and entirely different kind of dog, just way different. So for us to see, like, when they get on the call, or when you get on the call, and within 45 seconds, we have dogs sprinting in, fully committed, don't care about anything in the world, ears pinned back, hauling. That's insane to us. Like, you don't see that where we're from. And like, I mean, even James was talking about, like, he wasn't on the gun for half the time, and he's like, even just filming it, you're getting the rush. And you're filming it all the time. So like, because we had one stand that we have video footage of, and whether we put it out or not, who knows? It's a little gory, but like, people got to know what it is. But chaos, because we've got dogs running from 2 different sides, and there's dogs growling at you 20 feet away, and it's crazy. So it's just all this chaos, and then at the end, you can't help but laugh. Like it's not even like a forced thing. It's just a natural emotion, like. And just, I mean, like, the sounds that are happening, not even the sounds that dogs are making, but especially when we start using these suppressed platforms and the impacts that you're hearing.
Right, that's the loudest noise. The BoomBox was so quiet. The biggest noise is the impact of the round.
Yeah. When we came for this weekend, it was kind of in our minds at Q, because we designed 8.6 Blackout to kind of do, it's the perfect North American gun, whether you want to use, or round, whether you're using subsonic, you can do whatever you want. In close, supersonic, you can extend your range, and you have the capability to take whatever size animal you want. In our minds, we're thinking big game, medium to big game. So when we came down, it's like, we've got 6.5s, 5.56s, and we're like, but let's see, is it viable? I mean, we knew it would kill them, but it's like, I mean, a subsonic round, and they're moving quick. Like, you got to think about the flight time. And even at 100 yards, it's not an instant, like, you can see the bullet with your naked eye. If the sun's right, you can see the bullet. And so we're like, let's just try it out. And it turned out it does kill coyotes.
One thing that probably is worth mentioning is we didn't limit ourselves to 100-yard shots either. No. We came across a dog in between stands that's ripping out at 300 or 400 yards.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you guys were well versed enough in the round and knew the holds that you're calling holds as this dog's on a pretty good
clip. Yeah.
And we were able to take a shot and miss within maybe a couple inches, and it was probably north of 400 yards.
So. And I mean, Cam also took that shot right-handed, and he's a lefty.
Yeah,
like,
so that was amazing.
He like, there's no one could be like, how'd you miss that? Like, it was crazy. Yeah, he was on a haul. James made the call. He was at like 300, and he's like, hold 6. And I knew you were setting up, and I kept seeing him move. I'm like, he's probably got another 50, another 100. Yeah. I'm like, hold 8, and because you were already on 6.
Yeah, I was on 6.
And I'm like, and I just went 8, and you held that 8, sent it, and it was inches from insane. And so that's what's cool. I mean, the flight time on it too. We had a conversation in between. You pulled the trigger when the round made it out. Like, and that's what's cool for us too. Is the engineers. A lot of the engineers are two specifically the guy that designed the fix and then the guy that designed the boombox. They grew up in the Midwest, grew up hunting, killing everything, whether it be pests like raccoons and things like that, or medium-sized game like deer and all that. So they've hunted a ton. Kevin lives in Africa half of the year. He shoots 100 animals a trip, whatever. So as fun as shooting coyotes is already, now you're adding another thing in there like that. So once you guys get dope and all that, and once you guys you're going to be able to start pushing yourself now, because and it's ethical too. If the round can hit it, if you can get the round to the coyote, at least 8.6, it's going to kill it. Yeah. So, but now that's that added kind of exciting thing. Like if, we'll make sure you guys get 8.6 stuff. And if you start taking 300-yard shots, 400-yard shots, and just really trying to push it, that's going to, because you got to think about, and because a lot of the times, you guys are hitting runners. It's not a guarantee, one, that they're going to stop. Two, that everyone thinks we saw it, there was the stand where the dog was 30, 40 yards from you, but it happened so fast that it's just like a snap. You take the shot and you just, give it a haircut and it takes off, but you can't, that doesn't mean you quit. Yeah. You just start, try, and you smacked it on the second. It took off. Maybe you were just trying to make it harder on yourself.
That was a good shot.
Yeah. Took off and smacked it.
Cartwheeled it.
And I couldn't, where James and I were sitting, I saw the first one and I was like, oh, you missed it. And I started running off, and then I heard, because it's in the wide open, so even you're shooting supersonic, it's quiet, but you hear that impact, and I was like, he got it.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy to hear the contrast of these two, both incredibly quiet. The minifix is crazy quiet, but shooting that, seriously, the impacts are way louder than the actual round going off, which is, you could literally hear the call playing, and the call is much louder than the actual shot. And that called us in. We called in. Was it 3 or 4 coyotes? Was it that one stand? Was it 4?
It was four. Yeah, it was 4.
Yeah.
One just didn't fully commit, but the other 3 did.
I guarantee, if you don't have some suppressed, first off, you should always be shooting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second off, I don't think we were going to be able to call that many coyotes if we weren't shooting subs. You pack those subs up, and I guarantee those coyotes didn't even care. And they were
because we shot one, and then those other 2 came hauling out immediately after, like nothing had happened. And it's super interesting, and it adds that if it ever were to get boring for you, which I doubt it will, because it's insane every stand. Right. There's that extra little. Here's another little thing we could try, a little challenge, and it's effective. We tell people, at 600 yards, this round, even the subsonic round, on target, it's going to have more energy on target than a 45-point blank. So okay, if I hit it, it's going to die. It's ethical, it will do that. But there's that challenge of arcing them in. And to speak to the sound, we just got a quick 0 on the guns that we had brought. And at one point, you guys were kind of down. You were in a safe area, obviously, but you were downrange. I think both of you at one point.
Trying to call shots.
Yeah, just to see where the impacts were, because we kind of had a hasty target. And I imagine it sounds strange there, because you're not getting to hear it, because the shooter's hearing the action cycle. Yeah. So you hear like a ping almost, or like a ching. And then you hear the impact as the shooter. But if you're not hearing that cycle, you're not going to hear a crack go by you or a whiz. So you're just hearing an impact. It must be strange. So I can't imagine what those dogs hear.
Yeah.
And that's super cool. And then we had the opportunity to put one through the grape of a coyote, and when that
was a good shot.
When these 342s hit a skull, they do work for sure, and it's loud.
Oh, it is loud.
And again, it sounds insensitive, and I said it before, and to some people they might think it's insensitive, especially if you were to leave it in a video. But I hit that shot. One, I was just relieved because it was a slow day. And also that shot, I was like, I don't know how far that is. I think it's 100. I was as prepared as I could be with the dope that we had, or the 0 that we had. I was like, we'll try, and got it. But I was relieved, but the sound was so insane, and just nothing I had heard. The natural reaction is to laugh. Yeah. And so people are probably going to be like, oh, you're laughing at to death. It's that's not what you're laughing at. It's the experience. It's the, go have fun sometime, and you'll see what it's like to laugh.
From my perspective, it was funny. I was filming, and so was James. and Dad was sitting right next to me. I think Ken, you were over there too. But
Yeah.
after we played back both videos, all of us were laughing. Both
Yeah.
clips you could hear.
Yeah, independently.
Dudes in totally different
Yeah.
areas,
Yeah.
all laughing.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Independently. It was crazy. And that was cool because it's like, we came here, obviously, our goal was to get the BoomBox, get content of 8.6 and this platform especially, to see if it's a viable Predator gun. And I was so relieved, and also just, it couldn't have, the reaction on it, because I don't, sometimes when they're moving, it's hard to necessarily make a great shot on them. And I was so happy, because earlier we were talking about, like, hey, we should see if we can try to get a headshot, like lights out, whatever. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna try, but they got little heads.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
With
they're
any
just-
platform, it's hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Those things don't sit still.
right. Luckily, Batman decided to show up, because that one was crazy. Where we were sitting, and we kind of were sitting in a semicircle. One, like, Ken was a little in front of me, but facing that way, and like a proper, not an L-shaped ambush, but focusing into this wash. And James, one of you had made motion that there were dogs to the left, and James was like, hey, there's dogs to the left. So I'm looking out there, like, I don't see anything. And then I see James spin the camera, and I was like, oh, do you see one? And the first thing he's like, I can't see him right now. But I was like, oh, so you see one. And I'm looking, where could he be? And there's a perfect archway in the trees, and I just see a silhouette of literally Batman. Like, I see the pointed ears, and I'm like, what's he doing out here? So I was going to call out to him, but I'm looking, I'm like, whoa, there he is. So I'm looking through, and again, the behavior is so interesting, and you guys obviously see it a lot, but I was so ready to see from my last experience, and then thinking like, oh, Cam's going to get on the call, they're going to come charging in, full speed. Yeah. And this one was not.
He was timid.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll check up like that, and you only have a few seconds when he's like that. He's deciding, am I going to go in or am I getting out of here because something ain't right?
Yeah.
So the timing of your shot was perfect.
That was a perfect shot.
And if you had done this 100 more times, then that would just be, you would just be motor, like muscle memory. You would just know, I got this many seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just that good already.
Maybe.
It could
Maybe
be that. It's probably that. I was
in his
trained.
blood.
I was trained by the U.S. Navy's #1 elf, Terry Huyen.
Terry's legit.
He is the man. He's the. I feel like I'm scared now that I just said that. Like, I feel like he's gonna show up at my house and beat me up. But no. And it was, what was interesting is we had a stand before where we had one come in to the call. You started blowing kisses to it, and it turned and started running at us.
Yeah.
And finally, Ken made a shot when it was broadside to you, I assume, and it was still on the hoof. It was moving, but it was going to be in our laps.
Straight.
And I was in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm taking up the slack, because I'm like, oh, this is perfect. He's dead on. He's going to be real close. Like, if I miss high or low, he's still going to whack him. Here he comes. Take up the slack, and I just see a round. I see Jared. I'm like, oh, and then he turns, and so I just start whacking, and I think I ended up hitting that one, but we didn't find it. But so in my mind, I'm like, oh man, now I see the Batman taking his time, and he finally clears, but he's still paused again, and I'm thinking someone's about to let one off next to me, so I got to let one fly, and because I was hesitant, and I told James, I'm like, I don't know how far that is. And James said, and you can hear it in the clip, he's like, if you think you can shoot him, shoot him. Yeah. And as soon as he said that, I was like, he knows I can do it. I was like, he's got the confidence. And we sent one out, and it sounded like Jose Canseco hitting a 500-yard ding-dong off the old Louisville Slugger. It was a sick one. That was when I was like, all right, the trip was worth it. It was successful. Like, it's always worth it, but like for us, I'm like, okay, I've got to convince Q it's worth it. And
that was hours in the day one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I'm thinking about last time, every stand we're at, I'm like, we saw dogs at every stand. Maybe we couldn't get them all the way in, but like we saw them, and this can kind of, it might be a way to lead into another kind of science-based topic, but that first day we went out, I think we were just coming off of like a weird system, like pressure system, and so the dogs are doing different things. And because the next day we went out, it was total opposite. Fur down first stand and just running it all day. But and that's super interesting. And I think that's what's cool, because like when I look up, again, I'm in a weird corner of the country where the dogs don't cooperate, and there's not a lot of guys that are out that are specifically predator hunters. At least not coyotes. Guys will shoot bobcats and lynx and stuff. Well, I don't think they shoot lynx. I think they're protected. But
I've seen bobcats taken up there for sure.
yeah, so a lot of bobcats, stuff like that. And that's a little different. And we have a lot of trappers. I know the guys that kill coyotes, it's because they're trapping them. So for me, I don't see a lot of content created around that. So I think that it's, I guess what I'm getting is like, I don't know how any of that stuff, like, they're pretty much an enigma to me. It's like they're an entirely different animal. So I don't know too much. And so you guys having that science-based approach to all of it is super interesting to me. And anytime I would look up like a predator, if I were just go on YouTube right now and look it up, I feel like it would just be like old guys that own a ranch and like they come and annoy the cows, so they shoot them. Oh, I shot it at 9,000 yards with my 9mm. It's like, okay. But you guys having that science base, it's interesting. So I'm super, when we were talking earlier off camera, just about differences in the, like even the pressure system and how because I'm familiar with, how a whitetail reacts in this type of weather, that kind of thing. But it's all new to me. And I don't know I don't know how much you want to get into it or not, because, Trey, you guys got to defend your secrets. But it's interesting, and it's cool to see, because everything you said, like, you'll tell me about it, and then coincidentally, just because we're seeing enough dogs, it's like, oh, I just saw what he told me about earlier in place, and that's super cool. But yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, I would say, despite all of our efforts to really pinpoint exactly when they're going to be most active, it's still a little bit of an enigma to us as well. Now, we certainly know there are some things that are going to impact it more than others. But when we've had the question of when's the best time to go, Ken is the best one to answer that. And it's always like now.
Yeah.
Now is the best time to go.
Kind of, yeah.
And the reason I say that is, even if you go out on a day where there's not a great amount of activity, there's still so much information you can glean. Yep. And it is so much fun. And so to me, it's like, if you really are serious that you want to go hunt coyotes, get your butt out there
for sure
and go hunt coyotes. Now, sure, learn as much as you can in advance so that you're maximizing, the likelihood that you get a coyote. But even for us, and even for guys that have been doing it longer than us, you're going to have days like that where the coyotes just aren't cooperating.
Yeah. But
you learn from that. And so that's always what we say to people is, like today, like now, what you got an hour, go.
Yeah.
Go hunt coyotes.
100%.
That's how you're going to learn. And there's no substitute. We say this all the time. There's no substitute for time on stand. There's just not a substitute. We don't try to protect those secrets. We try to share it. We want to educate people. We want to help everyone be better at it. But even if you watched every one of our videos and every video from everyone else out there that's doing this and has been doing it longer, you just need to get out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And in spite of all the science that is behind it, there's still an element of randomness to where coyotes are going to be at any given time, and what specific sound is going to make this specific coyote react right at this moment.
You almost got run over the other day. And again, you can't predict that, because we set up thinking like, well, the winds, they're not going to come from there because the wind's blowing right to them.
Yeah.
And there you go. There's that random.
That's part of what makes it fun for me, though, is you don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of things that, this has happened before, that's happened before, but almost every time we go out and have a great trip, something happens, we go, that's the first time I ever saw that happen. Crazy stuff happens, and that's part of what makes it fun, is something new is going to happen, and you don't know, you can't always predict. If it was just easy, like you had a cheat code, I don't think it'd be fun anymore. That would take away the fun.
Yeah.
So that's a yes, we've learned a ton over the years, and like Scott said, it's from being out there in the field and observing what they do and how they react to the different things we do, and Cameron can decide if he wants to tell you how he picks areas, but usually he's the map guy. He's looking on satellite imagery, and he's saying, I want to make a stand here, here, and here. And I think he had over 20 that he picked for you guys this weekend that he wanted to go out.
Whoa.
And that's a big part of it too, is understanding what kind of areas coyotes will be in, because there's food and water and cover, and then we just you have to play the wind. That's a huge part of it. So can we get to that area from a place that's favorable wind? Right. If you can't, and they smell you before you even get there, you'll never see coyotes.
Yeah.
From the science aspect, and for the people that are wondering, when Jay and I were talking off camera, we were talking about barometric pressure and how that changes from talking to people that are smarter than us and observations that we've made, we have definitely seen a correlation between barometric pressure and how it ties into coyotes. So what you're talking about was we had a really severe dust storm the other day. I think it was 2 days before our first day. So really severe dust storm. You see that the barometric pressure drops when those kind of things happen, whether it be rain or dust. We usually don't get that much rain, but rain or dust storm. And usually the higher the number that goes, the more stable the weather is going to be. And from talking to people smarter than us, whether it be people that are vets know about dogs, or people that are legit and in the coyote species that know, and things that I've read, when the barometric pressure drops, they get swelling in their ears, and the swelling in their ears kind of takes their ability to hear. And if, for example, you are just using your eyes and your nose now, you're kind of uneasy.
Right.
Coyotes rely, when we're calling them in, on their ears, right?
Yeah.
They're relying on their nose to pick you out and smell, but they're coming into the noise. And so we've seen that when the pressure's low and the weather's changing and the swelling's in their ears, they're like, well, I'm not going to be as effective at hunting, so I'm going to hunker down.
Yeah.
We've had days when it's like really low barometric pressure and like nothing. And based on our data, some of our best days have come several days after a storm when the barometric pressure rises. Probably shouldn't be saying all this, but those are the days when I'm looking for, and if I'm going to plan an overnight hunt or something, those are the days I'm looking for. So barometric pressure is stable, consistent, and the coyotes, for some reason, they go, okay, swelling's out of my ears, and now I haven't been hunting for a couple of days.
Right.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And we've been, at least that's one of the data's points that we collect. We collect a lot, and that's one of the correlations that we look for when we're going to plan a hunt.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about.
We didn't have that luxury when we knew you guys were coming, but it still ended up.
No, of
being
course,
good.
yeah.
But I think what was just illustrated there is, again, very deliberate, very intentional in what he's doing on the map, and what we're trying to do. And anyone can do that. Yes, that is a natural characteristic that Cameron has. It's a trait he has. But anyone can develop that, and so there's really no excuse other than just laziness.
Well, that's the big thing is that, like, I guarantee and this is me betting the farm without having any idea, so Kevin would be like, man, don't do that. But I would be willing to bet the farm that there's no one putting the time in the seat or on the gun or behind the gun that you guys are doing. And, like, the way they're, at least as consistently. Like, and I'm sure there's guys who make $1 million a year and are TV stars and get paid to just do that every day. But you guys are balancing your own lives and still putting in more time than anyone that I can think of. Granted, I have a pretty small amount of guys that I can be like, the guy's a predator hunter.
You know everyone, though.
Yeah. I know everybody in the world, and they know me. But no, and I think that's the point, and it correlates to everything that we've talked about. We've talked about certain dealers that we have that people will be like, well, Q favors them, and it's like, we don't play favorites. That person's just a hustler. Like, they're just doing everything they can to be better than the next person. Yeah. And I think it's cool because I know that you're doing that. Obviously, you want to retain some of your ways, and it's the same. Like, I think about it with fly fishing. Like, that thing about the barometric pressure. Like, for me, I know, okay, moon phases. Yeah. There's certain moon phases to fish, and I'm sure it's the same with dogs, but to fish, moon phases are a real thing. And I could be like, well, I'm going to gatekeep that. But I'm well, wait, I found out because someone else knew. So, like, certain things everyone's going to know. I don't got to tell them where I'm going to fish. Yeah. But, like, and that's the whole thing. But I do think you do a good job of balancing because I see, like, your Q&As on social media, and you have no problem telling people what, like, some sounds that work really well, or like in different times of the year and that kind of thing. And I think that's the most important. If you ever have a platform, regardless of what it is, even though it's mostly a fun thing for you, being able to educate people who are into it, educate people who want to learn about it, and educate people that want to hate it or don't know about it. I think that's super important. I think you do a good job of balancing it without, giving up how you make the sausage.
Yeah, that was a huge compliment you paid to us, and I would love to accept it, but we know there are a lot of people out there that are better than us at a lot of different things. There's better shooters, there's better hunters, there's better a lot of things. But what we have stuck to from day one, and you'll never move me off, is nobody has more fun doing this than us.
Yeah, 100%.
And because it's fun, and because we know that people are better than us, we want to get better.
Right.
There's not a single one of us up here that's content with where we're at. When we leave, we're like, dang it, I wish I had done that better. I need to get better. I want to get better. And so thank you for the compliment, but we know that's not where we want to be. We know that's not where we're at, but I don't see any reason why we're ever going to stop.
Yeah,
So,
no, 100%. And for me too, like, and not that I don't think that you guys get a ton of, I mean, anyone that's hunting is going to get negative feedback from people that aren't hunters, but even just amongst, because the industry, I'm not so super familiar with like the hunting industry as far as like online and that kind of thing, but I know the gun industry pretty well, and it's a lot of guys doing the same thing that we all enjoy and just hate on each other for doing it. And so for me, like if I were to ever hear just even the stupid stuff of like, oh, well, did you see that video where it was 30 yards from they missed it? Where I'm like, if I were to ever hear that, it's like, well, sure, dude, maybe you could make that shot, but like, I promise you're not outworking them. Like, I promise you're not sitting in as many stands as they are. Like, and I know that because I know that. Like,
if you're not missing cows, you're not shooting that many.
Yeah, and that was one thing that like, you know, there's a video. It looks like it's, you know, D-Day, and you know, I'm flinging half a mag of 8.6 at a single dog. But like, again, that's something that one you can't practice for specifically, because like if you hit a dog and you know you hit it good, it's going to die, but it starts going into a spin. I don't have any other scenario at the local range that I can practice doing that.
No
And so like to me, you know, after I do it, I look at my mag. I'm like, oh boy, like I'm not gonna look so great at that. Everyone's gonna think this is my first day holding a gun. But at the same time, like, dude, when do I ever shoot that? Like, and I consider myself a supremely average shooter. That's what I tell everyone. Like, I know I can shoot some things a little better than this guy or that guy or whatever. But in general, I'm the most supreme, and I'm always willing to learn something new. It's pretty crazy how many times you can miss at 30 yards, like, especially when you've already hit, and you're like, how am I missing this? But, you know, and that keeps it exciting. Just everything. There's nothing about the cool thing, and I can understand as a kid, especially if you're not the one hunting, if you're going hunting with your dad or your grandfather, or especially something like deer hunting or maybe elk hunting, and where it's a lot of shut your mouth. Sit here, be quiet, still, or even just, hey, we're going to move, but we're going to go slow, be quiet. I can understand being a kid and be like, this isn't exciting. But, like, what we were doing, we're not sitting in the same place for 8 hours a day. And that's exciting because I'm like, this one's not as fruitful as we wanted. We only shot one dog here. That's all right. We'll move. We're going to leave, and we're going to go shoot 5 at the next spot. Like, and that's cool. And I don't know how so many people aren't into it. Because I asked you, like, do you guys run into hunters a lot out here? And I assume it's less than I would imagine.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of space. And you guys have access to certain areas through knowing the owners of land or whatever. Like, you guys have access to areas that some people wouldn't. But there's also a lot of public land out here, too.
Most of it's public.
Right. And guys just aren't out there. So anyone, like, my whole thing is now I'm just, like, we've got our own haters and I don't care about them, but I feel like if anyone says anything about them missing a coyote, I will kill you. Yeah. Like, I was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
It's not like shooting paper from a bench.
No.
It's not the same thing.
No. It's insane. That's the hardest 100-yard shot I've ever taken. It wasn't even hard. It was 91 yards. That's I'm like sweating. I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, it's a thing that I've seen 30 of today, and I'm just like, please make the shot, man. Like, my life depended on it. Probably did.
But where'd it hit?
It's eye socket.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Shoot your eye.
That was awesome.
Right where I needed it to hit.
That was awesome.
Yeah. But another thing that's cool, so like the reason we got introduced to one another is you were curious about our platforms and how they may benefit what you guys do. And I think it's been fun to because I could just write you an email and be like, oh yeah, it'll be cool because it's light and it's compact and you'll have fun. You won't be tired carrying it in and it's fast to shoot in. All right, have fun. Or I'd rather be like, bro, come show you. Come hang out, because for us, like, our product sells itself. If you can get it in the person's hands, it will sell itself. And that's big for us. And also, we like to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
So
the first time you came out, what rifle did you bring?
The 5.56 mini fix. Yeah, and then we had a 300 Blackout Mini because you shot a dog with that.
I remember shooting that one.
Yeah, and we actually had a prototype Southpaw on that.
We had something else. Yeah.
It might have been 2 mini fixes because I
Okay.
have a picture of
That's
the
what it was.
2. I think it was 2 mini fixes in 5.56 and a 300 blackout mini.
300.
I remember going home after. I'm like, ooh, we gotta have one.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta get my
Yeah.
hands on that, dude.
And I remember we were shooting as a prototype Southpaw, and I think one of you had a 22-250 gas gun.
Oh, no, I had a bolt.
Oh, was it a
gun.
bolt gun?
250,
Okay. And I just remember because and that one spot where we shot the 2 dogs,
Yeah.
I remember cracking off mine and shooting 5.56, even suppressed, is a little loud. And I was like, right next to my ear, I'm like, and it's pretty, the Southpaw's a good can. So I'm like, whatever. And then I hear that thing go off, like, what is next to me? I'm like, whoa, dude, your can came off or something. And so that was interesting. But then now this time around, obviously we have a completely different thing, like not what anyone would expect. Because you think of, at least growing up, hearing about guys shooting coyotes, it was always in like New Brunswick, Rolling Hills, far shots, 22-250s, 22 Hornets, 220 Swift, crazy, like 25-06, shooting far, flat, laser beams. Mm-hmm. Then we brought these like 40-foot, like, to me, it looks like a cement mixer inside of a brass casing, and we're throwing them at like MLB pitcher speeds at
real.
things.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, here is one. So yeah,
Wow.
so we bring these in, these 342 makers, Gorilla. I mean, this thing, so we've talked about it. If you take the projectile out, it's the same size or maybe even a little longer than a fully loaded 300 blackout,
crazy.
like in the case.
That's crazy.
And so we're just throwing Hail Marys at these things going, that's a big coyote gun for sure. We got 20 rounds, just gas gun, just let them fly. What was cool was that you guys, initially when we first came out here, you liked the platforms, like, oh, let's get some to them. It seems to fit what you guys do. And then you guys went and you expanded on it, and it leads me to want to talk about this mini fix because it's cool. And for me, it's the spirit of the fix. Like, to me, this is exactly what should be happening with this platform. Q might get mad at me for saying that because obviously, and we'll like put a disclaimer in there, but it's like, obviously anything that we put out as a company, we want to have done, unlike other companies, we want to have done all of the testing. Yeah. We want to shoot it till it breaks. We want to know everything about it so that we know what we're giving to the consumer. Yeah. We always do that. If you go out on your own and do stuff, that's on you and that's fine. I support it. Yeah. But don't call me saying, hey, I put the Volkswagen Beetle motor in the Porsche and she doesn't drive as fast anymore. I need you to fix it. But this one is cool. So this mini fix started out as a 5.56 mini, and you guys went to some buddies of ours who've made us some barrels as well. The guys over at Moss Tech, and they're local to here, right? Yep. And you got the old 22 Nozzler.
Yes, sir.
So
yeah. Like, again, back to the same comment,
absolutely.
Right? Of everything is with a purpose and intentional. We've killed hundreds of coyotes with 223 5.56.
Yep.
But it's nice to have a little bit more stopping power.
Absolutely.
And so we knew of your relationship with Moztec. We were introduced to Moztec by another mutual friend who we trust a lot. And got very comfortable with them. So we understood the risk by making the change to the platform. We loved the modularity that allowed it.
Yep.
It didn't have to change bolt face. It was
Right.
nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Right.
We were intentional about the round that we selected for it, and it's performed really, really well. And what I would say is when we go out, a lot of times we'll play different roles. So if you noticed when we sat up, I would be on the mini fix and I would be strategically placed where there might be a long shot where a coyote hangs up.
Further lane. Yep.
Yeah. And so
either hangs up or is exiting.
Yep.
Bingo. So and so that's where I would set up with this gun. So it's by design, it's intentional, it's deliberate. And Ken would set up in another spot, and Cam oftentimes when he's not behind the camera will have him set up someplace. So this gun comes with us, I don't want to say every time.
Right.
But the role pretty close.
Yeah.
The role it plays is that gun where if something hangs up, we're gonna smoke it. Now always for us, content is king. We're trying to draw that crowd into 50. We want our viewers to look it in the face and make it personal.
It's more fun too.
It is.
Right, yeah.
That's when the blood pressure
Get the shake.
But if it doesn't, then it plays a role. And the beauty of that gun is it can do both.
Yep.
So we did have some situations where up close, You're still smacking them. If it hangs up, you can do it. But yes, couldn't be happier with the barrel. It paired up very nicely with your gun. And so, yeah, it's been a good choice for us.
For the people wanting to know the numbers, before we were running the 223 and we're getting around 2,600 feet a second. Roughly.
Do you know what grain or like what ammo or
Same
grain
exact
rate
projectile, 62 grain. 62 grain is what we run.
and it's the Varmageddon projectile?
Nozzle Armageddon, 62 grain. So out of 22 nozzle and 223, exact same projectiles going down range. So we were getting around 2650 with the 223. When we went to 22 nozzle, it was around 2980, 2990, just barely under 3,000 feet a second. That's a big difference. That's cooking. So it was a good change. But
And what barrel length is it? Is it like 16.1 or
16.1. Yep.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I've seen Mostec do the 16.1 before, but I mean 350 feet per second is significant out of the same length barrel. Like,
Crazy.
and what's cool about it to me is so at Q we've been messing around with 6-arc. Everyone's been asking us, hey, let's do 6-arc. Let's do it. And initially I don't even think Kevin really wanted to. The engineers didn't really want to, but there's a demand for it. We get it. A lot of guys like it in their gas gun. We knew going into it, hey, the bolt is not great for it. Yeah. The mags aren't going to feed. It's going to be a hassle. That said, we do it because whatever. You want it, that's fine. You pay for it. It's good to go. What's cool to me about this, same bolt face. We don't have to swap the bolt face. Right. I'm not necessarily encouraging anyone to go do this on a. My whole thing is like, I'm in full support of, as long as the research is done right, and it's especially if it's a company that we've worked with before, and we have a bit of a relationship with Mostec, and we understand that they make a good barrel, they do the right thing. They have our barrel extensions, like because we've given them to them. Like they use our print, that kind of. Same with Proof Research, they use our print. They make drop-in barrels. It's not. You didn't go to Billy's house down the street and have him spin you up a barrel on his buddy's lathe from Harbor Freight or something. Like, it's done by
part-time taxi.
Right, exactly. Yeah. In Colorado.
Mercy.
Yeah. I'll have a chat with that guy. No, so you guys did it the right way, and you called people that you heard about it from someone you said you trust. You called people who are professionals at it, and you did the right. It would be crazy if you were like, oh, we're going to do this caliber, we're going to swap the bolt face, we're going to do this, hack job bolt swap, all this. You did the right thing. It's just a barrel swap. As much as I want to tell everyone, go do that, because it's cool. Yeah. I do think that one Q would be like, please don't tell everyone to do that. But I think that is so within the spirit of the mini fix and the fix. It is exactly what it was designed to do. You swap up. You have two different platforms. Like you have the 16-inch 5.56. You have this in the 22 nozzle. You can put an 8-inch 300 blackout on there, and you have all these different platforms. It's what it was designed to do, and it's a fresh. We've had these offerings for so long because we did the testing on them. We know how they work. They're popular calibers, but it's a fresh take on something and that gets me excited. And I think realistically, the engineers would have no problem with it as long as they were able to give the time or given the time to test it and see how we're just reliability, all that, because ultimately it's not an ego thing. We just want our consumer to have a good experience.
It's a pride thing.
And and with you guys, I don't expect you guys to do that. And then if for any reason it didn't work out and it sucked or it didn't group, I don't expect you guys to call and be like, hey, my gun sucks. But there are people who will.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but they will do that. But I'm glad that it's worked well. I think, he and I have talked about it the whole time we've been here, even when we'd leave to go to the hotel. Man, 22 nozzles are pretty interesting. Maybe we should, maybe we should risk our jobs and get a barrel swung or something. But no, it's
go back and shoot ours.
Right, exactly. It's super interesting, and it was effective. Everything I saw was effective, and right now is a cool time, especially in cartridges. We're close with the guys that do Walter Sobchuk Security, and the main dude there. He's been taking that SIG 277 Fury brass, the hybrid brass, and cutting them, necking them, doing everything. He's making 300 blackout, 8.6, 308. He's doing everything with them. And he sent some to Kevin. He's loading hybrid 308 that out of a 16-inch fix, a 16-inch 308 fix, Kevin's getting 300 Win Mag velocities out of it.
It's cooking.
Just because you're able to, all that pressure is in that case head. So you're able to just drive these rounds. And Kevin loved it. He was shooting some 300 Blackout too that was getting like, I think it was like 308 or 6.5 Grendel speeds and impacts. And so, and now at like Federal just released the whole 7mm backcountry thing. And I think you're going to just continue to see it, these alloys that are, I don't know how it's going to work with them because they patented the actual alloy that's made out of. So maybe people will just have to buy cases from them. But that's super cool, being able to run, an 80,000 PSI or these high pressure loads. And so right now is a cool time. It's like everyone's inspired about car, like 8.6 we did. And there's some Wildcats out there right now that are good, but they're not going to take off. But I think right now is a cool time. And so to hear about, like when I found out, because we had one of our guys, Jordan, he's got a 22 arc barrel for his Mini, but that involves, again, another different bull, all this. And I was like, oh, that's cool that they did that, or whatever. And then when you guys showed, I wasn't too spun up on the 22 nozzler. I'd heard of 28 nozzler and 33 nozzler, like crazy big ones. And so these, I'm like, that's super cool. And then when I saw the casing, I was like, why not, dude? Who needs 6 arc?
Yeah.
I don't know. So that was super interesting, and it's cool that it's been working for you guys.
Totally.
That's been a good one. We have talked about a little bit. Coyotes are super cool, but we got to get you, because what's cool, what it seems to me, being an outsider and sitting and watching you guys, it's the entire. It's not just like, oh, we shot it and it died. That's not the fun part. It's all that, what, like you said, the unknown, even the communication of back and forth. Like it's 2 times now where we've been on stands where a dog gets shot or whatever, and then you've got dogs barking at you and yipping all this stuff, and that's super exciting. And so we talked about it too. We're like, man, you guys got turkeys down here? And like, oh, not really. And it's like, we got to get you up. We'll turkey hunt with you because, some people might be like, well, it's boring, but it's the same thing. Like, except we don't use an electric call. We just use little pieces of plastic in our mouth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, I've got slate, but I always have a reed in my mouth just because I'll slate, but then if they get close and I can't use my hands, then, and I'm the worst turkey caller with a mouth call.
Really?
I should probably work on that. I sit in my car and drive to work and just sound like a dying turkey, or not even.
I've done that with howls, trying to do howls.
For having done both hunting coyotes and turkeys, are there similarities, or is it totally different?
There are some similarities for sure, especially in your setup or whatever. Okay. Turkeys see movement really well. I don't know how coyotes, like I need to learn, like being here has got me so interested in learning about coyotes, especially like whether it's, just their body movements or just behavior in general. So I'm super interested in that. I'm going to learn more, but like I learned that they see yellow and blue, like, so I'm not sure how their eyes are set up. I know turkeys probably have a ton of rods in their eyes if they see movement really well. Okay. But so there's that basic principle of like getting a hidden space, be quiet, and then having that community, like you're drawing them in. Probably similarly, I think a lot of people equate turkey hunting to elk hunting a lot because it's the idea of you're having a conversation and convincing them to come in. Whereas with coyote hunting, it seems like I'm going to equate it to like certain aspects of fishing, whether for me it's fly fishing because I'm a gentleman, but like you're more so triggering these. You're triggering them. You're not like you said it perfectly. You're not telling them a story and having them narrative. Right. You're not trying to convince them like, oh no, we promise it's a pretty girl over here. It's like hey, whoa, what's going on? I don't like what's happening. I need to go check it out. Totally. Or I'm really hungry and that sounds good enough. Whereas like with the fishing thing, like certain animal, like brown trout they're piscivorous, they eat a lot of fish. A lot of times, they're not biting your fly or your lure because they're hungry. You've just come into their area and they're pissed and they want to attack you. So you're triggering them, you're annoying them. So that's cool. I just think compared to what I've seen, turkey hunting is a lot slower pace. So it's not going to be as exciting. It's going to be real loud because we're touching off 12 gauges. I mean, you could bow hunt them. That'd be pretty cool with those guillotine broadheads. But
it sounds fun, but it's probably not going to replace my coyote hunting.
It absolutely will not. It won't. And you'll probably be chilly, and you might be a little wet because the dew in the morning. Spring turkey is a little, it's still a little chilly, and you get the dew. But the idea of locating where they're roosting. You throw out the owl call. Oh, they're over there, and then you set up because you think, no, I'm smarter than this turkey. It's a dumb bird that I hit with my car on accident all the time. I'll figure this one out. And you talk to that same bird for 2 hours, and you can see him. I can see him. He's 102 yards away. Yeah. But I can't shoot him because he's too far.
You can't move on him because they'll see you.
Oh, yeah, and they won't stick around. So that's what's cool. Like, we haven't really had, like us being with you guys, we haven't really had too many opportunities of a coyote that's hung up that we can see and we just can't get him in. Like, I haven't been here enough for that to happen. But that's all turkey hunting is. It's just like, oh, he's right. Especially like in a field, you're like, oh, he's right there, and I can see him. If I had a rifle, I could shoot him. Yeah. But that's the draw to me, and also just the conversation is the coolest part. Because with a turkey, you're having a conversation with him, and it's still probably triggering. But the manual, and do you guys use still? Because I know you've talked about like if you really got to coax one in, I think you have some like manual calls or is that what? Yeah, hand things like that. Obviously, the electronic call is, I would say, superior. But in a pinch...
Yeah, there's been a few situations where we wanted to use hand calls or had to use hand calls. I brought the wrong remote once. We brought this call with this remote. Yep. They're the same brand with different models. Or, you could have batteries die. Or a lot of times we'll keep like a little... diaphragm call.
Yeah.
For if you want to stop them, sometimes you just make a little yip or something, and it's quicker and more convenient than trying to get the guy who's running the call to do a sound.
Can you do this thing?
Yeah. So yeah. So there's some situations where we want to. Also, there's something kind of cool about it if you can use hand calls.
Yeah.
And we have a variety of them from Siri that we use sometimes.
Yeah. There's something like and Kevin calls me nostalgic for it all the time, but at Q we have all these space age materials and these high speed guns or whatever. But there's something that feels real good about kicking it old school. Like I just
trying to shoot a coyote with a revolver. I mean, trying to figure out what
I don't know who would do that.
Not me. I would never take that 180 yard sprint shot. But it's cool to be able to have this idea. And, like, people separate us from animals a lot or whatever. It's like, you get real primal. I just convinced this dude in his own house that I'm not a threat or I'm something else, and I tricked him and I got him. Like, that's cool.
Dad's thing. He's like, bull out. That's like his...
Yeah.
If you can roll into their territory and play the game and come out on top, like, there's value to me.
It's an accomplishment, so cool. And... you guys are hunting the right animal for sure because getting multiple opportunities every day or every day you're out there is awesome. And it, again, like you said, you learn something every stand.
Yeah.
And there's, like, I'm trying to think, even the stands where we don't see a coyote, like, oh, now we have these two huge owls that are here that are cool. Like, and that's something that, like, I think everyone who hunts, or most people who hunt, probably all feel the same way, but it's like, I hate the idea of like, well, it's just nice to get out there. It's true, but it's like, we know why you're hunting, but it is cool that when you're out there, you're going to see stuff that no one will ever see unless they're there. And because you're hidden, you're a ghost. Like, if you're doing it right, they don't know you're there. Yeah. And you're getting to see the real nature for what it is, but it's a whole different topic. And again, Kevin will call me a hippie for it or whatever, so we won't get into it, but...
I'd like to add to that, though. There's a few other elements that are important, at least to me, and one of them that got me into it was I hate the idea of, like, society, it feels, is drawing dads away from their children too much. And so if you're going out on a hunt and we're driving 45 minutes to an hour, that's an hour I get to spend each way with my son, an hour I get to spend each way with my brother, and I love that. And so, not everyone has the luxury of being able to go with someone that they really, really like being with. We do. We're lucky. But I'd give anything to go on another hunt with my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd give anything.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we can spend quality time together doing something we love, and we don't kill a coyote, that's still really amazing.
For sure.
And that's, I think we need more of that. I think we need more opportunities for dads to be with their boys.
Yeah.
Dads to model behaviors with their boys. Dads to be able to show their interest in their sons. And that has a huge, getting sentimental, right? But that has a huge impact on our community and on our society.
100%.
And we need that. And so if you have a son, man, I sure hope he would love to go hunting coyotes with you. And if he has any interest in all, take him out, have a blast.
Yeah.
Be kind, enjoy that time. And, we would still hang out together, Cameron and I. Me and Ken would still hang out together. But before we were doing this, it wasn't nearly as often. And so there's great value in good men being together. There's great value in nurturing family relationships, etc.
Yeah.
And that's a huge win for me.
100%. And that's not like you brought out a part of it that I think a lot of people don't think of, where, because I've heard people be like, well, yeah, we go hunt because we get to spend time together and it's in the woods or whatever. And I think a lot of people think like, you're out there and you're being silent. What do you mean? Like, oh, you're just around each other? But yeah, you got to get there. Yeah. And like you said, some of the places we went were an hour away or, farther than that. And it's like, yeah, it's the perfect, like, I mean, we had however many hundreds of discussions in one ride on the way down. Like, and it's cool. And I think especially now I'm thinking about, because I agree with you, especially on the family level, but now I'm starting to think about if someone were, like, these mentors that are getting people into hunting, like, in that in-between time is the perfect time. Like, the hunting part might be the scary part for someone that's new, but you get all that time to get comfortable and ease into it and give them something to expect, and then the after part where maybe they didn't do what they wanted to do and it's going to bum them out, or they lost an animal, something like that. You have all that time to figure it out. And and especially now where most people are communicating through text, not even on a phone call, but through text or whatever. Yeah, that human interaction is huge. And I think it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, that's a very serious thing. And I also live in this world where it's like, it should be okay to laugh after you skull a coyote at 100 yards. Like, so it's like a weird thing. You have to find the balance. But I do think they're like, one, people take themselves way too seriously, especially in this world. And that's a weird kind of balance act you guys have to deal with too, is like, and just like we do too, like, because hey, no one ever wants to see an animal suffer. That's not why any of us do this.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
And you're not laughing at an animal. Like, you're laughing at, one, the accomplishment, two, the adventure, three, everything you just put, like,
the unexpected
exactly.
Yeah.
And
like, whoa,
and I think people, it genuinely makes me think, like, when people are like, how is that funny to you? It's like, oh, you've literally never experienced that feeling before. And that's crazy. Like, I just don't get it. Yeah. But, I think that's something, luckily at Q, we're very candid and we're very much like, hey, we're going to, like, a big thing in the gun world is it's just now becoming okay to have other hobbies. Yeah. Before it's like, oh, you like guns? Well, you're not allowed to like anything else. Why not? Like, I'm not boring. So now I think hopefully it'll transition. And we've talked about it before too, where it's like, what you guys are doing, maybe it'll annoy old head hunters or whatever, and maybe it won't. But the kids that, and we talked about it for us, where the way we market our guns, it's like, well, we want the people that can't get them yet or aren't into it yet, but they want to learn and they want to get into it. We want to give them all of the options. Yeah. You can buy the gas guns and be Mr. Tactical and go take all your courses and do that, and that might be fulfilling to you. Or you get the bolt guns because you want to get into hunting or whatever. Like, you're kind of molding the next generation, whether you realize it or not. You're molding these kids that they might go to school and they, do one thing, play sports or this and that, and then they go home and secretly they watch hunting videos. Because like I told it on a podcast when I was in school, like growing up, I've hunted since I was 10 years old. Like, I was outdoors, whatever. But I was afraid to be considered a redneck when I was in school. I didn't want people to think I was a redneck. So I just wouldn't talk about it. Wouldn't talk about shooting deer. Never showed anyone pictures, whatever. Like, never talked about it. But I liked it. And now I don't care. Like, this long hair can't cover the redneck. But I think it's what you're doing inadvertently or even intentionally. It's going to make it okay. It's going to make it okay to have fun while you're hunting. It's going to make it okay to like hunting, like that kind of thing. And I think that's important. I get excited anytime I see a company or a brand or a group of people that are doing that because it resonates with me. It's what I want to do with the marketing that we do with Q. And that's what I think every company, and the companies that aren't doing that, I'm just like, you guys are whack. Like eventually you'll figure it out or you won't. Yeah. And so that's super cool. And that's why I think, one, you guys are good people as well. It's fun to hang out with you and shoot coyotes with you. So we enjoy that. But it's also we believe in what you're doing and believe in how you're doing it. And that's super cool for us.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course.
It's been fun to have you guys
here.
Yeah, I mean, every day at Q, somehow it comes up. We're talking about, when we were in Arizona, we did this. And it's like, so we were looking forward to it. Ended up being a kind of an audible to come out here. We were supposed to do something else, and it was going to be, we were going to try to film it, but it was going to be nighttime, it was going to be hard. And I was like, we know the daytime dog dudes. Like, let's go get those guys.
And
so,
I can't tell you no.
yeah. And it was so good. And we're always like beyond, and it's been more, obviously, it's been more than just hunting. Like you've opened up your house to us and that kind of thing. And it's important to all of us because we do, sure, it's our job. But it's the relationships that we make and the people we meet and that makes it all the coolest thing and that is part of adventure this is all an adventure. And at Q, Kevin especially, we're always pushing go have an adventure. And I think people get caught up in hearing someone like Kevin who can go to the other side of the world and have these adventures and they get lost and they go one day. But it's like you guys are a perfect example of you're in your own backyard having an adventure every weekend or every whatever it is, a week or weekday, you can go make your own adventure and you're doing it together. And that's the best part of adventures, doing it with people you enjoy.
Yeah. Facts.
So it's been cool. And I'm glad that we got to come down. Yeah. I think we're going to have to, these non-resident licenses last a year. So we might, that's
so like 10 months.
Yeah, we might have to.
What a waste of money.
I know.
What a waste of money.
We might have to do some quarterly check-ins or something.
That's right.
But I wish we had more things for you guys to come up and shoot at other than steel targets and paper and things like that. But definitely we'll be able to get you up and do stuff. And I think it would be cool. It was just something that came out of my mind. It was more so of like, I hope you guys get to the point where you can do this. And maybe we facilitate it together, but it would be cool to see you guys with the knowledge that you have, try to translate that shooting at predators all around the country and all around the globe, things that you haven't seen before, and I think that would be cool. And if we can find a way to facilitate doing that, I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Mountain lion is next on my list.
Mountain lion
is up there for me.
We got to get you to Africa eventually. There's some cool ones like caracal over there, jackal. Like there's some cool ones over there.
After hearing your story,
your snake story.
Well, I'll stand there with a stick. I'll take all the snakes out.
Okay.
You guys focus on the guns. I'll focus with the stakes. But yeah.
But it's been a huge honor. Thank you. We've enjoyed it as well. We've enjoyed the time as well.
Yeah.
And we've learned a lot, and so we appreciate that, and we hope it continues to be a regular event.
100%. Yeah.
And so the invitation is open for you.
We appreciate it, and always for you guys too. We'll have you come up. Obviously, like I said at the beginning, this is kind of it was an audible to do this podcast here, and it's not the normal way we do it. I think James is wizardly enough that he can make it all look proper. But if people want to complain about how they're not in the queue, but they can give me a personal call and I'll have a word with them.
Well, me too.
Yeah. They must forget I have a cowboy gun on my hip all the time, so and I'm not afraid to use it. But no, I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this, and this is just kind of we wanted to take the opportunity to let our viewer and consumer know who you guys are, and because they could see pictures of us together and be like, oh, who was that or whatever. And like I said, we'll get you up in our spot, have you build some guns and shoot with us. And I know you guys are constantly, like you said, you always want to improve. And luckily, we happen to know a bunch of guys that know how to shoot really far and did it for a living for a long time. So we'll make sure we get them up and do the whole thing, shoot far, do some sort of course, and try to get you to shoot something up in
Right.
We got squirrels or something. You can shoot those.
Some steel.
Yeah.
Some steel.
Oh, yeah, we got
Some
plenty
paper,
of it.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I'll
we
still
got
try to
plenty
hunt
of it.
coyotes. I may not get any, but
That's
I'm
the
gonna
thing.
try.
Well,
I'll
so
still
we can
try.
hunt them at night. So that'll be a new thing for you guys
yeah.
too, and see if we can get successful there. And, yeah, I don't know what else, but
Yeah.
it's been
Anything
cool.
you
So,
wanna add?
yeah, if there's anything you guys, some words of wisdom.
I feel like I want everyone to try it because it's so fun. But at the same time,
Stay out of your way.
right? Because coyotes get educated if you
Right.
don't if you get detected somehow, then you're just making them that much smarter. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fun. I wish everyone could experience it the way we do and have as much fun as we have, and to be lucky enough to have some cool guys come into town that to hang out with and show us some of the new, latest and greatest. And I'm just having a ball, and I feel really, really blessed and lucky. Can't wait till the next one.
Yeah.
Speaking of the cool guys, one of the things that we've met some of the people that we see in social media, you know, and like some of the times they're different than what I perceive when I'm watching them on the screen.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the funnest things was when you guys came the first time. You guys are exactly how you,
Exactly.
you are the most real,
Yeah.
like chill dudes, and everything you're seeing is how they are.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing fake. There's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
That was like one of the things I was like, dude, these guys are our homies. You know,
Yeah.
they're real.
It felt that way.
Yeah.
They're not like, you know,
felt that way.
it was crazy. And that was one of the cool things that these guys that are watching, probably you're leading the podcast. They don't get to see your side, but it was cool from our perspective to get that vibe.
Yeah.
Was so sick.
And
which is cool.
I think that's why, like, what you guys are doing resonates with a lot of us too. And it's like, Kevin is in a little bit of a different position than us. He can buy a plane and do whatever. And he's still like, everyone that meets him is like, oh, I thought he was going to be like, he's just a calm, nice guy, like whatever.
Dude, yeah.
And so, yeah, he's that normal dude. But the rest of us, like, we grew up like, we're not, I got like 3,000 followers on Instagram, and I think I'm like probably the coolest guy in my town. But like, we're not these rich dudes. We're not like whatever. So we're all of us kind of every day are just like there's been times they send us to do these events. I remember being the youngest guy at Q, and now like in the team of like our marketing team, I'm one of the older dudes. But we'll go to these events, these huge Gun Owners of America and this and that. And I look at all of us and I'm like, who said who's having us represent this company? I'm like, I just stopped wearing diapers basically. Like I don't even know how to tie my own shoes. Like, but it's stuff we care about. We do know the product. Like, and that's the thing I tell people all the time, like, I play an idiot on TV, but like I know a thing or two, and like, and we're so happy to share it and explain it and show it and experience it because we learn about our own product every time we do something like this, and that's super cool. And I agree with you. There's a lot of people that I've met that are. I'm like, I bet I know what that guy's like in real life, and then I meet him, like, ooh, like he's a bummer. But and you guys come off very authentic, and you are again, and the same way that I perceive you online, and also authentic in the way that I can see your excitement online, and then in person, you're just as excited. Yeah. There was that one stand you didn't get a shot off, and you were the most vibrating, literally vibrating as we're like, you came up to us, and we just killed a bunch of coyotes, and it was like the OK Corral, and you're like, I'm still shaking, and you're like, I didn't even shoot, and it's like that's super cool, and you can't fake it, but
that's true.
I guess that's kind of a wrap for the old. For the backyard Q podcast. Yeah, Q Light.
The ghetto.
But 100%. If you guys, where can people find you, whether it's social media or like, what do you want people to see? You can even tell them not to look at you, whatever you want.
Yeah. If you, I'm a YouTube guy, so if you want to see any of our type of content, we have the shorts and some long form content. DC_Predator on YouTube. And if you comment or ask questions there, most of the time I'm going to respond to them. Occasionally Cameron will as well. Instagram definitely Cam and sometimes Scott are the ones responding on those.
And your Instagram's the same thing. DC
Instagram is
Predator.
DC_Predator as well.
Yeah.
Right now, that plus our website is just
Yeah.
dcpredator.com, and we have a few hats and shirts that you can buy there, or just learn more about us. We have aspirations to grow bigger, so hopefully people enjoy it half as much as we do, and if they do, then they'll keep going and keep growing. And it's things like this I think are awesome for so many reasons. I mean, obviously you're going to introduce us to a lot of people that wouldn't have found us otherwise, so we appreciate that. At the same time, it's just been so fun hanging out with you. Jay's like one of the most interesting guys I ever met. In his years, he's not an old man, but he has experienced so much stuff.
Every couple things.
He's experienced some
Couple
things
things,
and has some great stories to tell.
Some of them might even be true.
I snuck a couple true ones in there, actually.
But we'll never know.
I'm just living vicariously through Uncle Sean and Kronk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have to. That's why, honestly, that's the secret reason I got to get you up and
I would love to
get you rolling, learning how to drive with Uncle Sean.
Yeah.
But and I will say, you guys are much more respectful on your social media in your comments than we are. And so every time I see a snarky comment from someone else, I'm like, I feel obligated to want to go in there and be like, listen, buddy, they're not going to tell you you're an idiot, but I will.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. We try to avoid the negative vibes the best we can, and that's authentic to who we are. We
For sure.
Obviously flawed people, but we try really hard to leave a positive impact everywhere we go.
Yeah.
And that's important to us. And we won't trade that for views or clicks or likes or any monetary whatever. That's at the core of who we are, and we're not veering from it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not gonna let that negative bring us down or set us to a different standard at all. We're gonna stay positive. But we want everyone to be happy. This is the reality.
People deserve to be happy.
Yeah, for sure.
They do.
Yeah. We want everybody to be happy.
Sure.
Even people that might be considered like our competitors to us in some way. We wish you the best.
Yeah.
People that hate hunting, people that hate guns, I want them happy too.
Yeah. You having all that hate against it is making you unhappy. So just chill out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys, and like I said, we'll get you up. And we'll have to start making these annual meetings and
Amen.
and
Let's
see.
do it in the summer so I don't like freeze to death.
Yeah, we'll wait
I
till
will
it
freeze to
thaws out for sure up there, and we're gonna do our best to stay out of here in the summertime.
Right.
So,
Oh,
Good move.
Yeah.
Good move.
yeah. Right on.
Thank you.